Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a Books Beside My Bed video for you where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. If I look and sound rough, it's because I'm feeling pretty rough. I've woken up with a cold. I contemplated waiting to film the videos for this week tomorrow, but then I'm also like, I could possibly get worse. So we're gonna try. We're gonna try today. As always, it has been a pretty big week, but it pretty much was capped off by the last 2.5 days. I have either been in or running professional learning for teachers, and I have another day of professional learning online on Monday. So I've kind of bookended this weekend with a whole lot of things, although I get to do the online learning from home, so it doesn't really matter how I'm feeling. I can just curl up on the couch and participate that way. The most disappointing thing about getting sick now is that my sister had her baby this week, and even though I have met baby Miller, I will not be able to go and see her this weekend because I'm sick, and that is really, really annoying. Fingers crossed that this goes away very quickly. Let's talk about the books. So this is my reading week from the 5th until the 11th of August. I read 6 things during the week, including some kids books and some adult romance titles. I'll talk really briefly about the kids novels. So I did read a junior fiction novel. This is Wildlife 3, A Little Bit Lost by Laura and Philip Bunting. This is part of a series. It is a fully colour, beautifully illustrated kids novel. It's about 3 friends, Wombat, Roo and Quokka. And in this case, Roo wakes up and discovers that she has a bunch of animal babies hiding in her pouch, and they're these little chicks. And so the trio set off to try and find who the parent of these chicks are and get up to all sorts of hijinks and adventures. This is just a really fun story featuring lots of Australian animals, and Philip Bunting's very beautiful. I love his illustrative art style. I mean, the animals are just so quirky. All of his books are illustrated this way. And as you read, you learn little bits and pieces about Australian animals as they try and track down where these chicks need to be delivered to, because they're pretty naughty. So this was a really cute read. I also read Evie and Rhino by Neridah McMullin. This is a historical middle fiction story. It is set in a coastal Victorian town, and it is about a shipwreck that happens. This shipwreck happens to be carrying exotic animals to Melbourne Zoo, or the original Melbourne Zoo, and it's shipwrecked and some of the animals make it to shore. And this is also the story about Evie, who lost her parents and lives with her grandfather, and since her parents' death she has had selective mutism. And it is Evie who discovers a rhino on the beach, and she doesn't know what the animal is, but the animal trusts her and follows her back to her property where she lives with her grandfather, who is a very well-renowned naturalist. And she hides the rhino in the barn, and then together she and her grandfather try and find out where the rhino was headed. But of course, along the way, she forms a really strong bond with this rhino. The rhino was headed for the zoo, as we said at the start, and someone from the zoo does come out to start investigating. And it's about how they try and make sure that this rhino does not end up in a concrete cage. And it was really lovely. It is shortlisted this year, which is why I was reading it, and I'm glad that I did finally get a chance to pick it up, because the winners of the shortlist are announced on Friday. I still have one more book to read. I also read Poorly Wired Circuit by Cate Page, which is a superhero romance novel that came out very recently, and I've been meaning to pick up, so I just finally did it. It is about Sarah, who works in IT, and she gets this new job working in the IT department of the superhero headquarters. And one day she gets this call from Alex, who is the leader of the superhero group but has retired from active duty and now sort of just does the office work of the superheroes. He's a single dad, and his abilities accidentally cause him to fry all of the technology in his office, and so Sarah comes up to try and help sort it out and replace everything. And the two really hit it off. So this is also a single parent romance. It is very sweet. It is a debut novel, and there are some things in it that made it feel very much like a debut novel, but I definitely enjoyed my time reading it, and I would 100% read more by Cate Page. And of course, you know me, and I have been just hanging out for more superhero romances, and this one was a very, very enjoyable time. It wouldn't be a wrap up for me lately without a hockey romance, and I read Play Your Part by Kathryn Kincaid. I think this is also fairly recently new. I did get a review copy on NetGalley, but I didn't read it before it came out, so I did manage to read a final copy from Kindle Unlimited. This one is about Kennedy, who is the daughter of the owner of a hockey team, and her father bought this hockey team because her mother was obsessed with hockey, and her mother has since passed away. I think it was a car accident, so content warnings for that. It is historical off-page. Kennedy and her mother used to always go to games, and they were always very involved, and Kennedy was doing some work behind the scenes with the team. However, since her mother died, she's sort of taken this step back, and she's also been secretly dating the captain of the team, who is a massive walking red flag. Like, he's not great. And at the start of the book, he breaks up with her, and it is It's not a nice breakup. He has been traded. He doesn't tell her he's been traded. And the way that she finds out that he's been traded is when she turns up to his place and it's being packed up and he's leaving. And that's when he breaks up with her. And to make matters even worse, he has been traded for his biggest rival. And so Kennedy is automatically set up to just loathe Alexei when he arrives, and they meet at an annual party held at her father's place, and they're just very antagonistic. Well, she's very antagonistic towards him. He doesn't quite know what is going on at this point because he doesn't realize initially that she was dating his rival, his biggest rival. But when a photo of them at the party goes viral, they end up fake dating for the sake of publicity. One, to build up Alexei's reputation in the town, who has known nothing but the fact that their previous captain, you know, just had a thing out for him. It's also Kennedy beginning to recognize what was actually happening in her previous relationship and the fact that it wasn't a very good relationship, that her previous partner was very controlling. She learns a lot about him from the other players on the team as well, who were just like, no, all the fans loved him, but no one in here did, because he was just not a team player, and he didn't treat anyone well. And of course, slowly Kennedy and Alexei begin to fall for one another, and it's very sweet. This one was still quite a slow burn. It's also Kennedy falling back in love with the game of hockey and realizing that she can still be connected to her mother through the game and through this shared connection that they had to it. So I really enjoyed it. It was just a nice, easy read. Then I read Resonance Surge by Nalini Singh, which is the most recent release in the psy-trinity / psy-changeling series. This one is about Yakov, who is one of the members of the bear changeling clan from Russia. We love the bears. It's so nice to be back with the bears. He is one half of a set of twins. His twin brother is dating Arwen Mercant, who is the cousin of Silver Mercant. And we also get glimpses into their relationship in this book as well, which is really nice, including their mating at the end. And I was so happy about that. But in this one, Yakov is assigned to support a very low-grade psy called Theodora, who is the twin sister of Pax Marshall. She is in town to investigate a closed-down rehabilitation center for the psy. And we've sort of had hints at these throughout the series. Basically, any psy that was considered too low-powered or emotionally unstable, who didn't embrace silence, etc., ended up in these facilities where they were basically experimented on. So it is like a horrific place. And it turns out that the Marshall family has a very strong financial tie to these centers, and so Pax and Theodora are trying to uncover exactly what is still going on, why they're still drawing money, all of that. And they ask for support from the changelings in the area to provide protection to Theodora. It turns out that Theodora herself had been subjected to some of these experiments, and that comes back to her in flashbacks and panic attacks and all sorts of things. But she feels very comforted around Yakov, and like their story was just very sweet. They're forced together and they spend time with one another, and it was just nice to be back in the world. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go back and do a really in-depth video on the book like I have with all the other books in the series. I'm definitely not in the place to do it at the moment. But the psy-changeling books now are just comfort reads for me. I can just slip into the world, be back with a lot of the same characters. There's so many little nods to things that have happened in the series previously, lots of things that are being set up, and I just thoroughly enjoyed my time. Also, because we're with the bears, we have the baby bear gangsters just being the best in this book. They're not in it a lot, but when they are, they're scene stealers all the time. And finally, I read Employing Patience by Saxon James. This is book 4 in the Divorced Men's Club series. This is the last one that's currently out. There is a 5th one coming out later this year. And I just enjoy these books for the light-hearted fun that they are. So this series is all romances. At least one partner in each pairing is 40 plus. They are divorced and they are finding love post-divorce. In this case, we have Art, who owns the bar that all of his friends come to for their Divorced Men's Club meetings, and he has this employee called Joey, and we have seen them throughout the previous books just interacting in hilarious ways with one another. They are both outrageous flirts, but Joey insists that he is straight. And it's not that he is straight as he is thinking about it. He says that because he knows it gets under Art's skin, but Joey himself has realized that he is attracted to Art, and he's probably bisexual, but he doesn't feel comfortable with that label because he's never really been attracted to another guy the way he is to Art. And so there is a lot in here about him coming to self-acceptance and realizing that it's okay to either give yourself a label or not give yourself a label, depending on how you feel, and it doesn't really matter because of who you are attracted to. And so while he doesn't definitively lock down any one descriptor for himself in this book, he does figure out other things about himself, and it was just lovely. We find out Joey is working multiple jobs. He has the guardianship of his younger sister who is still in high school. She's about to graduate. He also has another sister who's off in college who he's supporting. He took them out of a really toxic family situation and they basically don't have contact with their parents anymore. But he's doing all of this and bears the financial burden of that. He's in his early 30s and he's feeling the strain of it. Art is also a bit of a fairy godmother character in the fact that he doesn't have a partner, doesn't have kids, but has a lot of money and likes to help out people in his community and often does these random acts of kindness by financially supporting people without them realizing that it's him. He has a bit of a pseudonym that the stories tell of this, you know, person who just sweeps in and pays for some medical bills that people really needed paid for or whatever. And he doesn't do it for recognition. He does it just because he wants to give back to the people in his community and he has the means to do so. And at one point he does this for Joey when he figures out exactly what's going on because he thinks Joey can be a bit of a flake. He's been swapping shifts and whatnot, but as it turns out, there is a reason for that. So this is a gorgeous workplace romance with found family elements, and there is a really lovely caretaking aspect to the book as well at one point. These illustrated hardback editions are literally illustrated inside. There are, I think, 3 or 4 illustrations. Let's see if I can find one that I can actually show on camera because some of them are not safe for work. There's this one. Those are Art's niece and nephew, and they play a big part in the story as well. So I really enjoyed it. They're just very light, easy reads. I know that I'm not going to get too much angst and that I can just relax while I'm reading them. So yay. I'm now going to have to wait until the next book comes out. I'm not that patient really, which is ironic since this book is called Employing Patience. All right, so those are the books that I have read this week. In the comments, I'd love to know if you've read any of them or if you're planning on picking them up. Otherwise, feel free to share something that you have been reading and enjoying this week. I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.